Alright, hello wonderful YouTube people. Good afternoon. Today, right, I want to talk a little bit about veils, right? Veils in the mind. You know what a veil is, I'm sure. It's like a curtain. Yeah. So, anyone who studies a little psychology or whatever can identify the veils in the mind. Here's an easy example, right? You get bit by a dog, and so now you cannot see dogs as friendly pets. It's a veil. It's a weak example, I know, but it's pretty complex topic, so that's an easy example. There are more important veils, which basically all of them would be more important than that. Many veils apparently, and seeing through them is a key to life. So, fear is the first veil, right? You live a life of fear, you're going nowhere. Once you've lost the fear of petty things like government control, bodily harm, forced vaccinations, once you lose those things, that will tear that veil away and your mind will operate differently. Once that is gone, once the veil of fear is gone, you can then perceive the other veils. At least a certain amount of the other ones. There are many veils, and they are in all angles. The mind is infinitely complex. You know, as I've said many times before, I would never disrespect anyone with authority. And here's why. I just want to explain it. Even if it's an atheist, right, that has authority, God dwells in the subconscious mind. Whether they're able to see it and know it or not, God is in control of them because he's in the subconscious mind. So anyone in authority was put there. Let's look at 2 Peter, starting at verse 10. He knows especially how to treat those who live for the flesh in their desire for whatever corrupts, and those who despise authority. These bold and arrogant men have no qualms whatsoever about reviling celestial beings. Now, the statement made between the lines, right, is people in positions of authority are celestial beings. Now, let's define celestial. Celestial, belonging or relating to heaven. So, anyone who is in a position of authority belongs to or is related to heaven. You don't disrespect them. You get it? Let's do one more that validates that claim. Same author. 1 John, verse 4. Everyone begotten of God conquers the world. True. And this power that conquers the world is this faith of ours. Who then is conqueror of the world? The one who believes that Jesus is the Son of God. Those are the people in authority, the celestial beings that conquer the world. And this is why you don't disrespect authority. Just saying. Now, even this, right, that's a veil, right? Anyone using just their carnal mind, anyone who despises authority would never be able to see that. You shouldn't despise anyone, you should love everyone. Anyone just using their carnal mind wouldn't reach this conclusion. Just like if you're using your carnal mind, if you're trying to think and figure out what the Bible says, you won't do it. That animal mind will never comprehend it. You got to go from the heart. You must surrender the carnal mind that loves being in bondage in this world. It loves its sin. It loves sex, drugs, alcohol, all those things. You must surrender that. Defeat it. Conquer it. You must surrender to God to conquer the world. Loving the world is being a slave to it. Love Jesus. Be a slave to him. His yoke is much lighter, and the peace he gives far surpasses the peace of this world. When you lose the fear, right? When you lose the veil of fear and you seek inner peace, relax all your muscles and let all the stress go. Don't worry about tomorrow. Forget about yesterday. You're forgiven. The peace will come upon you like a river, a flood that cannot be held back. It will consume you. It's a peace. When I finally found this, it was amazing. I'd do anything to live in that shit forever. And let me say, the idea of eternity scares the shit out of me. Just the thought of it is forever, never ending. Scares the shit out of me, literally. Like, it scares me to death. I guess it wouldn't be literally. Metaphorically. When I spoke with Jesus, though, right? Because I did. And I was in that peace, that all-consuming, wonderful rest. If that's eternity, I'm ready to go now. But the amazing thing, right? The amazing thing is what that really was, that peace that I was in when I spoke to Jesus. I was completely relaxed, and just that peace, as Apostle Paul said, it was a taste of heaven. Just a taste. Just a taste, and I was ready to stay forever. Think about that. It's a taste and proof that God is good. Once you get this taste of heaven and escape the carnal mind will tear the veil. It will expose itself as not you. The very mind you operated under your whole life is Satan. That's why this world belongs to Satan, because people live in their carnal mind. When the veil was torn and I was like, that's not who I am, he started accusing me, literally. I said, wow, that's how you want to do me? It's surreal, it is. It's really, really strange. But it's a veil that was ripped away. When Jesus ascended, the veil was ripped out of the temple, the mind. And then the people were able to comprehend what was happening. The veil was torn. There are many veils, and only on the other side of those veils can you find love. The artistic love that makes music and paintings and love, genuine love. And that's what holds the world together. Imagine how bad it would be, how bad this world would be if there weren't artists, if there wasn't music and all those things. It'd be bad. So, here's another set of beliefs that creates veils in the mind, right? Scientists are always right. Everything is known. Politics is legitimate. And the artists are the one who sold their soul for money. You know, like if you had the ability to sell your soul, right? Which soul is body. If you're alive, you have a soul, period. Spirit is the other part, is opposite soul. If you had the ability to sell your soul, right? Wouldn't that make you completely aware that there was another option? You know what I mean? If Satan popped up as a person, right? Which isn't what it is. Evil runs through the heart of man. Every man. If you had the ability to sell your soul and Satan popped up, right? And he said, hey, give me your soul, right? And you'll suffer eternal torture for 60 years of headache and fame. Who would say yes? You know what I mean? If Satan was like, look, bro, I'll give you this whole world. You give me your soul. Wouldn't you be like, oh, shit, I have an eternal soul. Maybe I shouldn't trade. You know what I mean? Who would really do it? Nobody. Satan is within everyone. And so is heaven and Jesus and the Father. It's all inside. The inside is the truth. The outside is a reflection of the truth. If inside you have love for everything and everyone, when you look outside, you're going to see that love. If you hate everyone and you just hate everything about life, when you look at everything around you, you're going to hate it. It's a reflection, right? Even Atlas, right? You know Atlas from the Greek myth? He holds the world and the heavens on his shoulders. Atlas is the name of the top node of your spine, the very top bone, the one that holds your head up. That's Atlas. So, if Atlas holds up the heavens, and Atlas is the top node of your spine, where's the heavens? Let's try another angle. A veil is a truth, right? That your mind cannot perceive. You can't see the truth because you're looking at the information at the wrong angle. You can't see clearly because when you see the information, you're not looking at it correctly. If you are what you think, right, and you don't like how things are going for you and you don't like life, change the way that you think. Change the way that you look at the information, and then life will change around you. It's really amazing. It really is. So, another little thing here. The mind is a mansion, right? To get to the back kitchen, okay? It's a mansion, and there's a back kitchen. In order to get to the back kitchen, you have to go upstairs to the porch, second floor porch. You go up the steps to the porch, right? And then you go into the mansion. You pass through the guest bedroom, and then you have to go down steps to get to the back kitchen, right? That's how the mind works. Each room is a mind state that allows access to the next room, but also has walls or veils that limit your ability to get into the next room. You understand? You get it? You know what I mean? Each room, each mind state has a different view as well. Looking out the windows of the room, out your eyes when you look, and when you're in the house and you're in a room and you see things a certain way and you look out the window, you get a view. If you change the room, change your mind state, and then look out, you'll see a whole different world. Looking right. Each room has a different view as well. Looking from the right room will show you the meaning of the verse that Jesus spoke. He said, "The kingdom of heaven is stretched out across the whole earth, but men see it not." And they don't see it because they're looking at the world from the basement. You dig? You know what I mean? Right? And if the kingdom of heaven is stretched out across the whole earth and the kingdom of heaven is within, you need to go inside, find the kingdom of heaven, and then look at the world. And there's heaven. When the inside is like the outside, the kingdom is there. God is love. God is law. Law. It's key. God is life. How can you perceive him if you're always pissed off, afraid of some shit you've seen on TV, and spend your day doing things that are harmful to your life? The more you praise death, the more fear you accept in, the more veils you have. The more you love everything, without exception, which love is the opposite of death, the more veils you remove. Love and wisdom are eternal. The law is eternal. Those are what you should be happy with. Those are what you should seek all the time. So, if you embody these things, love, law, and wisdom, right? If those three things are what you are, what are you? Eternal. Fear and hate are temporary. So if you embody fear and hate, what are you? Temporary, right? God did not create death. Men chose it. Fear, right? Fear, and this is part. Fear damages the nervous system, right? And the whole world outside of you is a hallucination, not literally, but figuratively, a hallucination of the brain, right? And the brain is attached to every system in your body. All of them are headed up by the brain. The most important system is the endocrine, the glands, and the nervous system. Those are the two most important, in my opinion. The nervous system is alive. It's like a tree, but it's alive, literally. And like all the other systems, is headed up by the brain. Everything is a metaphor for psychology. Everything. The kingdom of heaven is within you. It is. I've been there. It's a state of complete relaxation that brings about a peace. And honestly, it's greater than peace. Peace doesn't do it justice. The kingdom comes not by sight, nor by observance. This is Jesus' words. But it is in the midst of you. Midst. Literary term, meaning the middle. The kingdom of heaven is in the middle of you. When one does something, right? When you act against your own conscience, that's a sin, because the law is written upon your conscience. If you say, oh, I know I shouldn't punch this guy, and then you punch that guy, you're going to feel guilty. That's going to affect your nervous system and essentially shorten your life. Alright, the law is written upon your conscience. And that being the case, internally, you know when you've sinned. You know when you've gone against your own conscience, and it damages the nervous system. So, when the damage is done, and you know what you've done wrong, you know that you've done wrong, a veil forms that blocks the truth from view, because you know you did wrong. And so your mind hides, basically. Your mind hides from God. God is in the subconscious, right? And that's where normally you are. But once you sin, you're separated, and you go into the lower carnal mind, which is enmity against God, which is not subjected to God's laws. It can't be. It's an animal. Alright. When Adam ate the fruit, right, in the garden, when he ate the fruit, so to speak, he hid because he knew he did wrong. When God came into the garden, Jerusalem, the mother of us all, the woman, the subconscious mind, Adam wasn't there. He had entered the carnal mind because he knew he did wrong. He was hiding for fear of his deed being exposed. Do you get it? So when God entered the garden, he said, Adam, where are you? Right? And I know a lot of people say some stupid shit about that, but it wasn't angrily. He didn't say, Adam, you son of a bitch, where you at? And it wasn't judgmentally. It was fearfully, tearfully. God is love, right? God's not going to be like, you bastard. If you betrayed love, love would not be angry, but hurt and feeling abandoned. This is the truth of God that most cannot perceive, or they don't want to, because they like fleshly things. God is love, always forgiving, doesn't get angry. When God judges, right? He doesn't do it because he's mad, unless you enjoy betraying him. And the reason that is because love loves destroying hate. Full circle. So, if you hate, stop. Some veils keep us from living, and so bring about an early death. The only cause of death is fear and guilt. Why? God didn't create death. Men chose it. If God didn't create death, why do people die? They choose to. The thing that kills is fear and guilt, nothing else. God made us to be with and like him, his image, but men in their weakness choose fleshly bonds, and the flesh breeds death. When one does something like hate or sin, like committing adultery is a really good example. Cheating on a spouse, right? They know they did wrong, and it will eat at them. It causes fear and guilt. But a wise man, right? He used a nice comparison. Guilt is like toxic waste. You can bury it, but it'll seep through everything and expose itself. And this is such a good example too. When someone cheats on their spouse, right? The guilt, you can bury it, but the guilt is the very thing that shapes who they are. The behavior, their behavior after the act changes. And I'm sure everybody knows this. Go away. Their behavior changes to either bury the guilt deeper or they overcompensate, both of which expose their deeds. But whatever, the carnal mind can't understand that. The guilt is there even if they don't care about it, right? Even if they don't give a shit, who they are inside does care. And that's where the guilt manifests first. It manifests inside, and then it leaks out, and it changes the behavior of the cheater. Like I said, everyone has seen this in some way or another, because man is a fallen creature right now. So sins and ungodly behavior is praised as acceptable. Which, that's why I left society and everything called society, with few exceptions. Anyway, using this example, right? When the guilt comes, right? when you feel guilty for cheating on your whatever, the guilty person avoids truth, right? Because truth would mean exposing their deeds, and they don't want that. A veil is created so that they can't see the truth. And all the psychological defense mechanisms kick in. Denial, repression, projection, they become visible, clearly visible. And those are the exact things that people do when they cheat on their partner, right? They accuse the innocent one of the bad deed, right? That's projection. They deny it to the point that they will say the dumbest shit, thinking that it makes sense. Denial. And then they bury it and don't ever think about it, or try not to, because it causes guilt, and that's repression. But that guilt integrates itself into the behavior, and that's not good. Never bury the guilt. Never. If you're guilty of something, confess it out loud with your mouth and move on. Don't leave yourself feeling guilty, because it will become part of you. Alright, and you should confess everything. Someone has done worse, believe me. Unless you've done some super bad shit, which even still, someone's done worse, and God forgives all. It's in our nature to fuck up, period. Why? Why does God forgive all? Because at some point, right, which we know where the point was, there was a man who did nothing wrong, right? Nothing at all. From the moment he was born to the moment he died, he remained within the law. He loved, he had no guilt his entire life. He was perfect. But he was not fallen. He wasn't a fallen person. But this very thing that I'm talking about, right? The veils and guilt and projection made the guilty people accuse him, and he accepted it, and he still gave us his innocence, because God is love. And the perfect man, not fallen, having no guilt, and never breaking a law, is an embodiment of love. If you love me, keep my commandments. Somebody put a fucking dumpster right next to my van, and these flies are bothering me. Alright. God is love, and the perfect man, having no guilt and never breaking a law, is an embodiment of love. He loved us then, and even now, 2,000 years later, that love is still yours. Just claim it and follow the law. Not man's law. Not mandates and shit. God's law. Without Jesus, you have no forgiveness. The guilt will destroy you. What you did would eat at you, and you would die at maybe 35, And that's if you're a good person, because even good people have guilt and shit. Guilt causes death. God did not create death. Men chose it because they enjoy their wicked deeds. Veils are all in the mind. Lose the fear. Step 1. There is only one thing you should fear, and that's losing the love of God. If you had ever been in that state, right? Close your eyes, relax, let everything go, right? When you feel that love that comes, to never have that is just awful. There's only one thing that you should fear, and it's losing the love of God. Tread carefully. Refuse the bad deeds and the deeds that seem good but are just a way for lust to enter the mind, right? Thinking for a second that taking medication is okay, and thinking it's alright to abuse it, it's alright to smoke a little crack or something, you know what I mean? Which I've never done. These are just examples. Thinking for a second that it's okay to abuse those drugs, right, means that it's the next step after that is thinking it's okay to be dependent on them drugs. You dig? You get what I'm saying? It's in steps. Be holy, for I am holy. Guilt comes from breaking the law. The law is written on your heart and mind. When you break God's law, you hide. Mentally, right? You might not even be able to acknowledge these things. But when you break the law in your mind and your heart, you hide. A veil is formed, and it puts you and God separated from each other. You put a veil between you. God wouldn't do that. You do it. I do it. Which I try not to. A veil is formed, and you begin, right? And when that happens, right? When you do wrong, right? You feel guilty. You put the veil there because you know you're about to be judged, because God has to judge in imperfections. So you put the veil there and you begin defending yourself. It's amazing. So, law, psychology, the Bible, all three of those are one thing. All three of them are the same one thing. They all play into each other. It's a complete story. If you study psychology and you study law and you study the Bible is the middle, right? You got law, psychology. In the middle is the Bible. It's crazy. It makes the connection. Because when you break the law, your mind, psychologically, cognitively, you know it. You feel guilt. Veils are formed. Thank God for Jesus. Because otherwise we'd be cutting up hella goats right now. Sacrificing them. Like, there's no sacrifice good enough at this point. You see what society's doing? It's really crazy, the shit that's considered acceptable these days. It started off with, let gay people get married. Now there's transsexuals in libraries reading books to children and exposing their genitals to the kids. Like, I seen that shit and wanted to throw up. That's disgusting. You don't fucking do that to children. Man, but it's steps, right? Once it's okay for gay people to get married, the next step is for gay people to have complete access and control of your children. And then, after that, it's acceptable to expose genitalia to children. And after that, it's acceptable to teach kids between 4 and 7, which is happening now in schools. They just passed the bill. Ages 4 to 7 are going to be learning sex ed. My kids are withdrawn. Ain't no fucking way. Like, I don't want to hurt people, but that's one thing that makes me want to hurt people, is when you're trying to fuck up the minds of children. Like, no, it's not going to happen. But I hope this helped, exercise somebody's mind. I love you guys. I'll see you soon.